Good afternoon. My name's Patrick Hughes, and we're in downtown Betio, Tarawa, with Glenn Prentice, and we have some questions for Glenn. And we were wondering, Glenn, if you could please tell us why you did a lot of surfing in Southern California.
Well, Southern California is kind of unique, and I come from a lower middle class family, so I had to work my way through high school actually. And so one of the things in California you like to do is surf and go to drive-ins and date girls and cruise Hollywood Boulevard. So it was a fun time of my life. It was a very memorable time. But it was like surfing, girls, drive-ins, and dating. I mean, and it was colorful life. It was a colorful life. I remember cruising Hollywood Boulevard many times, and just to be seen. And my nickname was I drove a blue '56 Chevy, so they used to call me Blue.
Okay.
That's what it was like.
Wow. Now, we know you joined the military at a young age, and why did you pick the Marine Corps, and how old were you when you joined?
Well, I was going back to the first question. I didn't really appreciate going to school, so I spent most of my time like dating and stuff. So I had a low grade point average. So when I went to junior college, Pierce Junior College, I had a academic probation. So that meant I couldn't get a deferment. So I got my draft notice to go into the Army, and I said, well, I don't really want to go in the Army. So my dad was in the Army, so I went to I was interested in avionics, so I went to the Air Force, and they said, no, there's a 3-year waiting list to get in the Air Force. I was going to be drafted in 30 days. So I went over to the Navy, and they said, no, there's a 3-year waiting list to go to the avionics school. But they said, well, the Marines has the same school in avionics. So I went to the Marine Corps recruiter, and I had to pass a test. So I signed up for 4 years because avionics school was like 18 months. So I joined the Marine Corps to learn avionics.
Wow. Okay.
And it didn't happen. So.
Right. And we heard you did something unusual on your 19th birthday.
A lot of us. On my 19th birthday, I turned 19, and we. And the previous day, we got ambushed by an NBA unit on 881 North. So.
And where's that at? And Hill 881.
It's near the base Quezon, at Quezon base. So it was decided by Captain Dabney to assault 881 with a full company. So I was on the right-hand flank with Lieutenant Brindley, and we hit a full regiment. And we didn't expect to be hitting the full regiment. And it was memorable because some words you never want to hear from an infantry officer. I was actually artillery, a forward observer in artillery attached to the infantry. And Lieutenant Brindley, after a big firefight, said, and my scout got wounded, Smitty got wounded, so I had to take over the team on the right-hand flank. And then the lieutenant said, fix bayonets. And I went, I only had a 45. I looked over to the corpsman, he had a 45. And we said, oh no, really? So we assaulted a position, and unfortunately, the lieutenant got, soon after we went online to attack the bunker complex, the lieutenant got killed, and at a platoon of 60 people with recon, 9 of us made it to the top of the hill, and I was one of the 9 that made it to the top.
Wow.
But it was I didn't think I was going to see my 20th birthday. It was a very, very difficult firefight, very emotional, it was real tragic. But we did make it, and we withdrew.
And for those that weren't in the Marine Corps, what does the Marine Corps mean to you?
If it wasn't for the Marine Corps and the officers like Lieutenant Brindley, Lieutenant Thomas, Lieutenant Dworsky, Captain Dabney, Captain O'Connor, and other officers and enlisted staff, I wouldn't be the man I am now. Wouldn't have been successful. I've been very blessed because I've been very successful in life after the Marine Corps. So it wasn't for the Marine Corps, I wouldn't be the man I am now.
Wow. And when you came out here in 2014 to find Marine casualties, how did you feel about that?
Well, they have some Tarawa Marines coming out, and I spent some time with the Tarawa Marines that actually fought here, so I understood what they went through and how much combat they went through, and it was very impressive and emotional, and it gave me a connection with the recovering the MIAs from Betio.
Okay. One thing, you're involved with History Flight, and History Flight, one of their main things is trying to recover MIAs that were left behind in Tarawa.
Yes.
So we know that there were Marines supposedly under a building, and how did you come up with the idea to try to recover these Marines?
Well, it was said by certain staff members of that couldn't be done. From the Department of Defense, it couldn't be done. So that gave me a challenge. So I said, well, it can be done. I just got to figure out how to do it. So I've been in public works director for City of Oceanside, and I used to be a general manager, Department of Water and Power, and building director. So I have a lot of construction experience. So I know things can be done, but it's just difficult. So you have to have the willpower. So I got a hold of my good friend John O'Donnell and Kevin Jordan, who are excellent engineers, top engineers in their field. And I told them the problem, and my first idea was to tunnel. And then Kevin came up, well, how do you really dig through it? I said, we go from the top down. He says, well, we'll just go through the floor. So over lunch in Escondido, we figured out, between John O'Donnell and Kevin Jordan, we figured out, and myself, how to do it. And that's how we figured it out, just the three of us.
Okay. With History Flight, there's a gentleman named Mark Noah.
Yes.
Who is Mark Noah? What do you think about this gentleman, Mark Noah?
Mark Noah is the president of History Flight. He founded the nonprofit, or the non-governmental agency, and he's a driven man. I mean, he's a pilot. He's a very capable man, very intelligent, very driven. So I admire that in a person. So I think a lot of Mark. I mean, if it wasn't for Mark, none of this would have happened.
Yes, he has a lot of persistence.
Persistent. He has a lot of savvy. He has a lot of history. He researches. He came up with the idea of ground penetrating radar, cadaver dogs, and all this information. So he came up basically how to find people. And without his persistence and his knowledge and his ingenuity, nothing would have happened.
Okay, and one of the archaeologists that works for History Flight is Kristen Baker. What do you think of Kristen and her professionalism?
She's the best archaeologist I've ever worked with. I've worked for several with History Flight, and she is the most dedicated, the most talented, the most precise, and detail-oriented archaeologist I've ever worked with. And I'm not from that field, but I mean, she's just a great person, and very caring person, and very respectful. I mean, and I consider one of the top in the field. I mean, she's very good.
Okay, what did Mark Noah do when you told him your idea about digging through this building to recover our Marines from Tarawa?
Well, he questioned me, and I said, well, Mark, trust me, I could do it. And he goes, okay, I'll trust you. And so he basically supported me, and I told him the plan and what I needed, and he fully supported logistically and the equipment and the personnel and everything. So he was very supportive. He didn't say no. He said, yeah, I think you can do it, Glenn. I said, yes, Mark, I can do it. So he was very supportive.
Glenn, how do you feel with so many younger people being involved and trying to get involved with helping recovering the remains of missing American servicemen?
Well, it gives me faith in America again, with all this stuff going with political and divisiveness, and we come together as a people to the younger generation, my generation, and the older generation, is that they believe in what they're doing. They're respectful. They want to accomplish, and they give it their all. They give it 120%, and it makes me feel proud to be American, and that there are young people that are that dedicated to America and the MIA process, and so it makes me proud.
Okay. Can you tell us how many times have you been to Tarawa searching for our Marine brothers?
Oh, I've probably been here over 15 to 20 times. I mean, I've lost count. My passport's full. I had to give you an idea. Like I had to add papers to my passport because I had so many stamps from Tarawa and work permits, and so I would guesstimate 15 to 20 times.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add about yourself, History Flight, the people that are involved with History Flight?
I just want to tell the American people and everybody that there are dedicated Americans that find our MIAs, and it's not an easy task here working in Betio. It's very difficult. It's hard on all of our families. It's hard on my family. It's hard on me emotionally because I'm a combat vet from Vietnam. So it's difficult, but it can be done, and it does get done because of American know-how and esprit de corps.
Okay, and also, I was just wondering, some of the things that you have to give up besides being away from the family. I mean, what are some of the conveniences or the inconveniences that you experience here while you're in Betio, Tarawa?
Food, comfort. The power goes out all the time. It's like Murphy and his family lives here. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong here.
And usually does.
And it usually does. So it's a constant struggle, basically survival and living, because it's difficult. No air conditioning, the power goes out, you can't find supplies. It just you go. If you want to paint a building, you got to go to 4 different hardware stores. One has paintbrushes but no paint. One has paint but no paintbrushes. One has rollers but no rollers. So I guess it's a constant struggle to get things accomplished. So it's very frustrating. It's a different culture. I mean, the people are great here, but it's very different, and it's very difficult to work here.
Okay. I want to thank you, Glenn. It's been an honor meeting you, and we really appreciate all that you do, Honor Flight, and all the people involved with Honor Flight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How's that? Are you doing okay?